Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. We are in Green Bay for a table setter type podcast. Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald alongside. For those of you on YouTube, you might be able to detect right here, that is the storied Lambeau Field behind us. A variety of bars and restaurants in the immediate area. Andrew, we're going to have a good time this week?
Oh, we're going to have a great time.
More important than anything else is, what are we going to key on during the beginning of the Zeke Elliott era? How seismic is the addition of Ezekiel Elliott? Because on Tuesday, it was a lead story to a large extent on national media, and I heard some breathless takes about the impact he could make.
Some breathless takes from the national media, you say. Look, I've been wrestling with this the last couple days because we've really discussed it the last 2-3 weeks. And you came on my podcast very gracefully, and we discussed it maybe for 8 minutes. I think we spent closer to double time on Malik Cunningham because Ezekiel Elliott is going to help you in two ways. Short yardage and a blitz pickup. And in doing so, though, what I finally arrived at today after this 48-hour wrestling match is he's going to make life easier on the Patriots' best and most important players on offense, those being respectively Ramondre Stevenson and Mac Jones. And that's the value for me. Not a statistic, not his number of pass blocking snaps brought to you by PFF. It's making Stevenson better by taking some off his plate and giving Mac more time, which we know he needs more of.
We could spend all kinds of time going through the stats on short yardage, his effectiveness on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3 or less, his effectiveness in the red zone, both from inside the 5 and inside the 10, his ability to catch the ball. My question is this. Aside from that short yardage ability, which is huge for the Patriots, because I think Ramondre Stevenson wears down in the number of hits that he takes, can he be your sub back that Ty Montgomery was ticketed to be? Can he be a supersized sub back?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the goal line stuff. 8 out of 11 is very impressive. But this is someone
a sub back like James White, catching the ball. I don't want him 80 times targeted, but
no, you don't, because he's lost a lot of that burst and a lot of that wiggle where you can throw him out in the flat and throw them that ball. But it looks like Pierre Strong from the other night or Kevin Harris, where you just get the ball and they can't do anything with it. So with him, it's more of just a security blanket. He'll catch the ball, he'll make the proper block and blitz pickup. But I see him in, if he's back there, more likely than not, you're in some sort of like 6-7 man protection. If Ramondre Stevenson in there, get him the ball. And that's been Mac's favorite throw so far in camp is against the linebacker. So maybe not full James White, maybe not 80% James White, but 60-70 still not bad.
And Ramondre Stevenson is a very more than capable pass catcher for a guy his size, and Bill Belichick has pointed that out in many of his odes to Ramondre. Give me an over-under for total carries from the line of scrimmage for Ezekiel Elliott, provided he stays healthy, bearing in mind 10 a game means you're at about $160.
Right. I'll say...
Does that mean that?
Yeah.
10 a game? Yeah, 10
160, 170.
How about, and they're into a 17-game schedule now. So.
Well, and mind you, he's only missed 3 games the last 4 years. So we talk about he's a very old 28, and he's an old 20. I was an old 28, starting to look like this. But for him, I would put over under 99.5. Do you get to that full 100? I think you still need to feed Ramondre Stevenson the ball. Again, this is to take some of his dirty work, blitz pickup, 3rd and 1. Those will add up to a degree. But when you need to pass the ball or catch up, which I think they're going to have to do a fair amount this year, you're going with Stevenson still. And that's where I think you get around 100. I don't think it'll be at 10 per game. But, 6, 7, 8, that sounds fair.
Do you kick rocks over the fact that the Patriots spent 2 running back picks last year in the earlier portion of the draft? And I don't know if they've totally swung and missed on both of them, but it doesn't look good if you're supposed to be making a leap in your second year.
So I don't kick rocks. I skip rocks. It's an undersold, underappreciated
and you can still
pastime.
Do that when glum.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Fierce, angry, happy, whatever you might be. And no, I don't mind, because this is a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick, and I think we have gotten we've taken it for granted how well the Patriots hit in those rounds. Like whether it's running back, a cornerback, a defensive lineman, you're not supposed to hit very often 4th-round picks. You look at James White, 4th round. Shane Vereen, 3rd round. Damien Harris, 3rd round. Ramondre Stevenson, 4th round.
Joe Tooney.
More often.
He's not a
2nd round. Yeah, not running back either. But more often than not, they hit on those guys. The fact that they took 2, we should have felt inclined to believe, okay, one of them will work out. So far, underscored so far, it hasn't. But we could see maybe a little bit more from Kevin Harris if someone gets hurt. Like, of the 2, I like Harris a little bit better. He showed more growth from his rookie season. But he's a 6th-round pick, not the 4th one. And I think there's a little disappointment, but that's life in the league.
Why would the Patriots push away from the table on Damien Harris, a player who showed excellent burst, seemed like a leader, seemed like a quirky guy at times too, whether it be in the locker room or with the media. It really was, it's one of those things you have to see it to get it. But he seemed quirky. Not in a malevolent way, just odd sometimes. Why would they push away from the table on a guy who was less expensive? Do you think that they felt as if he was either irritating, ineffective, or injury-prone?
So I think at Foxborough, and you've been around longer than I have, tiebreaker goes to the non-quirks, the not-quirky. And I think for him, it went a little deeper than that. I don't think the Patriots were sorry to see him go. I don't think he was sorry not to come back to New England if it wasn't for the money. But mind you, he got $1.77 million. That's less than half of the total value of Ezekiel Elliott's contract, whether you count the base value, which was $4 million, $3 million in salary, $1 million signing bonus, or the total value including incentives. So that was not only the Patriots that didn't want to pay him that was every other team in the league except for Buffalo. I think for Harris, it comes down to availability. You can count him down for 4 to 6 games missed per year. He was only a good pass protector his last season in New England. It took him 4 years to get to that point. And as a receiver, it didn't offer you much. The last thing I'll say is he had a smaller volume last year in carries than even Ezekiel Elliott did as a number 2 back in Dallas, but still broke a lower rate of tackles than Zeke did at age 27, and far less than Ramondre Stevenson, who also outpaced him as a rookie in 2021. So he's not as dynamic. He's not a great receiver. He's now just coming along as a pass protector. He's strong as hell. I don't want to meet him in the hole. But you can find a lot of guys who you don't want to meet in a hole and are better at one of those 2 other skills, and they did.
The injury to Mike Gesicki, fortunately for the Patriots, is deemed as not terribly serious. I'd be surprised, given the level of distress he seemed to be in on Monday at practice, if he was out here in an active role this week. Are they up against it at the tight end spot as well? I mean, when I say up against it, you have a very good top 12-ish tight end in Hunter Henry, who does tend to get dinged. You can count on him for 14 games. And then you have Ferkser and Matt Sokol. And if you want to run 12 personnel a whole ton, it's altered your plan because there's a drop-off, and it's a year again to nitpick. There were good tight ends in the draft, and the Patriots really only settled for a developmental guy and jumping Johnny Lumpkin.
You know, I was going to say, what says the most about the tight end position is you listed the other guys besides Gesicki and Henry, and forgot 2. Everyone's schoolyard bully, Johnny Lumpkin. And then Scotty Washington, who played last year.
Oh, I should forget.
But I don't say that to shame you.
Because he seems like a wideout sometimes.
And that's the state of the position. Washington and Mike Gesicki are receivers masquerading as tight ends. So whether he was healthy or not,
that's a good point.
I look at this and go,
Washington is a step.
You can't count on Mike Gesicki as a run blocker. And wherever he is, let's say he's in line on the left side, every defense in the league knows they're not running left because you're not having him as a lead blocker. He might sift backwards or kind of some split action. But besides that, you had to work around him in the run game. Now you have to do it because he's probably not going to play until at least week 1. The Patriots are, quote, hopeful for that, which seems like a, hey, nudge, Mike, tough it out for us if you can. But beyond that, it's shallow. It was shallow with him, but obviously worse off without him.
With Malik Cunningham, we've buried the lead just a little bit here, but I don't know if he is the lead or not. Where do you think he's going to have the greatest relevance? Starting lowest level, given a look on a regular basis to the Patriots defense for the Jalen Hurtses and the Lamar Jacksons, and to a lesser degree the Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herberts? Is it putting a package together for that kind of player where he can be a slash? You know, you come out with Mac under center, Malik is in the slot, and you motion the 2 and switch things and make the defense jump? Or is it bigger than that where he could be in a position to overtake Bailey Zappi? I'm going to start with he goes into mothballs and developmental guy September 1.
Yeah, you shot me down on replacing Bailey Zappi in my own podcast the other day, so I'm surprised
he's
to hear that.
Going to.
Okay.
He's going
not
to
this
replace
year.
him.
Is that what it is?
Just not this year.
Okay, I gotcha. Look, I think if the season started tomorrow, these weren't joint practices up here in Green Bay. We have a lovely season opener. The beer's flowing like wine out here. He's not on the team. I don't think he's on the roster. He needs to show more this week in joint practices, in the exhibition down in Tennessee. Then we could see what comes of Malik Cunningham. But they're laying the groundwork, I think, in practice when he's not only just getting 5 reps on Sunday, 5 reps on Monday in team drills. He's replacing Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. You only do that if you intend to play him with the players that Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi play with, which are mostly starters and second stringers. So I think they're leaving breadcrumbs without defining this is what we want, but we'll give Malik an opportunity to carve himself out a package where he takes Mac off the field, maybe in the red zone, or we see what we got. Because Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant last year. I'm not saying Malik Cunningham's on the same trajectory, but why shut this kid out if he was the most electrifying player in the only game he played so far? He's shown improvement, and really as a receiver hasn't flashed yet. Like, give him plenty of time there, but he knows how to play quarterback. Let's see what he does at this level.
Do you think Pop Douglas, speaking of another rookie, is in a legitimate proving ground, carve a niche, could be a 50, 60 target guy type period of his season? I mean, this is where, and I said this in a story I wrote, this is the proving ground here in the joint practices. This is the proving ground for September. How do you do in these joint practices? Less so than in the games. You know, this was when Mac Jones climbed. He was against the Eagles, and he performed well against Cam Newton. It was kind of a dead heat. But then when Cam went into COVID, Mac Jones dominated against the New York Giants in 2-minute situations, up and down the field, and that offense looked terrific against, you know, a Giants team that really didn't end up that good.
They started spinning the dial the second day. It was like zone blitzes, corners coming from the edge, like all these different looks because they just didn't want to get screwed again. You're absolutely right. As far as a proving ground, I think DeMario Douglas has proven he's gotten a roster spot. Like Malik Cunningham right now is not on the team. I think he's on the team. He's also fielding punts. Kayshon Boutte is one that I think if he wants to get a roster spot, he's got to show something.
I'm not talking roster spot.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm talking
like a legit guy.
I'm talking a legit guy
so
who can be. If you look at basically how the ball gets divvied up, Ramondre Stevenson's going to touch it 225 times. Hunter Henry's probably going to see 80 targets. I got to think Juju's going to be close to 100 targets. Again, provided everybody's healthy. Maybe even more for Juju.
Ooh.
I mean, those guys see it that much. Between James White and Julian Edelman, I think that there were close to 230 targets in 2019 when Brady was orchestrating the
guys you trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can he become a guy who sees the ball 50 or 60 times targeted to him? I think he can. Because nobody else does what he does.
On the trajectory he's on right now, that's where he's headed next. But I think the thing we forget about all the time is growth is not necessarily linear. Like, you have a couple really great weeks, sometimes the pads come on, and if you're Trey Nixon, that growth goes south, and you disappear, and you're back on the practice squad for a third, fourth straight year. DeMario Douglas, we don't know yet, because this is the first year that we've seen it, but he's exceeded expectations through 1 week, then 2, now coming up on 3. And if he does show out here in the slot against a better secondary, where he doesn't stand out just because he's the one quick guy out of a bunch of hulking 6'1", 6'2" guys, Juju, Bourne, throwing the tight ends there if you want, like, that'll show me something, and I would say yes. I just, ask me in 2 days.
Fair enough. Do you think that what's the likelihood that Mac Jones outperforms, not going against the same defense, but outperforms Jordan Love over the next couple of days?
I would put it at 40%.
I'd say more likely than not.
Really?
Mac Jones is going to look better than Jordan Love.
See, the 2 things I think Jordan Love has going in his favor. One is he's got much better escapability. So things go south, he's got more release hatches and valves to go to. But he's also facing, I think, a much better defense. I don't know how much you're factoring that in or just a head-to-head. Not to mention Jordan Love's been in the league a year longer.
I am. I'm factoring in that Jordan Love is going to go against the defense. It's pretty suffocating right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So
what's your percentage then?
My percentage is close to about 65 or 70. I think Mac Jones is going to be the comeback player of the year.
Woo!
Non-Damar Hamlin category.
I thought this parking lot was the hottest thing out there, but here comes that take flying out.
You guys crazy? I've been saying that for months. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I harped on it last week before the preseason game against the Texans. I'm going to harp on it now, and I'm going to harp on it again because Jabrill Peppers, in Irrelevant Questions, which you're going to hear at the end of this podcast, when I asked him, the Patriots will ... in 2023, he said, be situationally smart, tenacious, and fundamentally sound. And to me, that's music. I don't want to hear about dominant in the AFC East, a bunch of warriors ready to go out on their shields. I want to hear about smart football because, just to remind you, after the Patriots lost to the Vikings last year, in a pretty competitive game, I did some math, and this is quoting from me, 53 accepted penalties in the past 8 games after drawing 6 for 55 against Minnie. The Patriots led the league in holding flags with 20 and had 25 pre-snap penalties. They were penalized 23 more times than their opponents, flagged 77 times overall. That was through an 8-game stretch. 30 negative plays, not including kneel downs. That was 26 sacks, 5 picks, and 4 lost fumbles. It's a total of 65 negative offensive plays. Add in the 53 penalties. That's 118 negative plays in a span of 8 games, in which the Patriots actually went 5-3. Now after that, they raised the white flag against the Bills. Then they had a meltdown against the Raiders and barely escaped Colt McCoy and the Cardinals despite the score. So to me, I look at a Patriots team that all they have to do is not play like absolute rockheads and show improvement. And we actually have seen that this camp. Have you seen a lot of laps being taken? Have you seen a lot of guys getting screamed at? Do you think this is a smarter, more organized team? Or am I just worried about having OCD and saying that stuff should be clean?
You're not. And it was funny, you're listing off all those numbers. I'm going, hey, I lived through all of that, and I'm missing a lot of it. Like, I know I documented all the same. I don't know if we just blacked it out for our own mental health. But I was also trying to process how many flags or laps have we seen in practice. I have 4 off the top of my head for pre-snap penalties. We might have had 1 or 2 on Sunday and Monday. Let's call it 6 total. 6 for 14 practices this early in camp is incredibly impressive and a far cry different from what we saw last year. So, yes, I think that's a big deal because not only was it just a losing season last year, coaching dysfunction and locker room falling apart. What happened last year was all of the pillars of Belichick's program came crashing down. You didn't take care of opposing number 1 receivers or targets or the big weapon and force them to play left-handed. You didn't play disciplined football. You didn't play smart football. And it happened in that Bills game right after that Minnesota game. Not to mention special teams were worse in the league. You allowed half the kick returns, touchdowns in the whole league. Everything came crashing down. You have to build that back up before you say, okay, we're going to make the playoffs. No, you need to not commit those penalties, not allow those return touchdowns, and take away Stephon Diggs for once, for the love of God.
For the love of God.
And I think it's going to happen.
Hey, football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time that team wins in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/NSBO.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 21 plus in present and select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I teased it. Jabrill Peppers spent time with me. I love the kid. I think he's an exciting player. I think he's very underrated. We'll get to that in the thing. But Irrelevant Questions is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Here's Jabrill Peppers. We'll talk to you later in the week. Check it out. I got Jabrill Peppers, who I think was the most underrated Patriots defender last year. He brought more violence within the rules and attitude to that defense than anybody else. I'm happy to have you.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
Have you ever met any other Jabrills?
Nah, I never met one personally, but I've heard of a few. Jabrill Cox, I think he's down in Dallas, and I think his name was Jabrill Wilson or something like that. But I've never met another Jabrill. I've met plenty Gabriels though.
Oh, Jabrill is a derivation of Gabriel.
Yeah, named after the angel Gabriel. Yeah.
What's the most memorable hit you ever delivered at any level?
I think it's either my rookie or second year in the league. I got fined for it, but I beat the fine.
You beat the fine?
It was against the Bengals on the sideline. I think it was Josh Malone, number 80. That was probably one of my best, cleanest hits I probably had.
Any noise made by Josh when he took it?
Yeah.
Can't help it. You can't help it.
Definitely.
What's the most memorable hit you've ever received at any level?
In college, I was the punt returner, and fair catches, protects you and you can't hit anybody. But if you don't give a fair catch, you can block and they're allowed to hit you as well. So I'm trying to bluff the punt, and boom, right to the midsection, took all the air out of me. I got up though. You can't let them see that that they hurt you with that. So I got up. When I got to the sideline, it was kind of like had to get it out, threw up a little bit. But I was good after that. I was definitely ready to go after
My
that.
guy definitely made a noise on that one
absolutely,
too.
Absolutely.
What would be your go-to karaoke song?
I think I'll probably go with Even Though We've Come. I ain't gonna get too much into it. But it's just end of the road, boys to men. Yeah, boys
Love
to men,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely love it. You won a state championship. Check this out. In the state of New Jersey, every single season in high school.
Yeah.
Tell me about one play that typifies what your high school career was all about.
But I'd probably say going against my former team in the playoffs, opening kickoff, I took it back to the house. And then I seen the team that we were gonna play in the state championship. And after I scored, I looked at all of them and said, "Y'all next." So that was,
And they were.
yeah, they were next.
Your upbringing in East Orange, New Jersey was not good. It was difficult, I should say, not good. It was difficult. How did you go about avoiding the landmines that are so prevalent for a young man in the inner city to deal with? And yeah, 3.8 GPA, top recruit in the country.
I just think that, it just all comes down to, not falling victim to peer pressure, having a mind of your own. And I had really good mentors, who try to keep me on the right path. I learned from guys ahead of me mistakes. And, I just wanted it. I just wanted to be where I'm at a lot more than anything else. So whatever I had to do to get there, that's what I was going to do.
Has that been as you've gone along, whether it be in high school, college, now? You're only 27, which is, you've been in my consciousness for about 10 years. I'm surprised you're 27, but has that been something that, look, if you're going to do something with your time to mentor or reach out, that would be, hey, you can do it. Doesn't mean you have to be the number one recruit, but this is something I can do.
Absolutely. Like I tell all the guys, man, if you're nice enough and you stay clean on and off the field, and you can be eligible no matter where you go, they'll find you. And like the league speaks for itself. You got guys from small colleges, big colleges, guys from the XFL getting a shot, CFL, USFL, you know what I mean? So it's definitely attainable, but you definitely gotta, it has to be something you're definitely committed to. And it'll be a lot of roadblocks, but you just gotta stay the course.
Yeah, like I said, landmines. Has Malik Cunningham caught you at all with some of his shimmy?
Not yet. No, I'm kind of, guys like that, you break down on a little earlier.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be ready. Got my eye on that inside hip, scalloping in, and I'm making sure. But it's good practice open field tackling when he's a ball carrier.
That's good, Gerard Mayo talk. He told us all about scalloping when he was on the show. What's your favorite binge show, other than mine? This is Quick Slants. I'm sure that you're familiar.
I binged the 100. And then I recently watched Game of Thrones last year. That was probably the best.
Kind of petered out at the end, though.
Yeah, it did, but I didn't really care because when I started watching it, House of Dragon had just came out too, and apparently people have been waiting years for a kind of remake or kind of continuation of it, and I caught it right away, so that was dope.
I'm still bummed about the dog going down to the mountain.
It is what it is, man.
It's a jungle out there.
It is what it is.
What's the main difference between Bostonians and New Yorkers? I know you're from New Jersey, but it's kind of a region. What's the main difference you've seen since you've been up here? The friendlier?
I would say so.
Whoa.
The accent. Guess how they dress.
Like, would you see a nice fisherman shark shirt out there? Because this is what we got going here.
Yeah, y'all swag is a little different, man.
A little different. Finish this sentence. In 2023, the New England Patriots are going to
eliminate bad football, be tenacious, and be situationally sound.
I love it. That was my number one thing last week going into the preseason game. Just be organized.
Absolutely.
It's the guy who's got his life organized. I'm very proud of him, and I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Appreciate you.